All right, we're live.
All right, welcome everyone out there in the virtual world. I'm Pastor Casey Church here in Albuquerque, New Mexico. So you are part of a really exciting night tonight, because in person here we have about 30-some folks here in person tonight. So we're excited too, kind of nervous, but using that nervousness to our advantage and just going to have a good time tonight. So a land acknowledgement to let you know that we're on the land of the Tiwa people and also of the Hopi. West of us, we have the Apache, 2 Apache tribes in the area, and we have 19 Pueblos that are here. So all of those that are here, and I told Pastor that I was going to throw a couple of digs out there once in a while, so if your toes get stepped on, that's intentional. So yeah, with all of the natives that are in this area, Albuquerque has never had an active congregation to Native American people, even though we make up 10% of the population here. So something's going on there that I don't quite understand. So we need to change some things, and maybe also in your conferences as well. So with that kind of a tough welcome, yeah, you are welcome. And I want to give our opening time of prayer to Eshe. And he's, like I said, he's from South Carolina, in person today. And I'm trying to pull him in to go to school here so that he can be a part of our service here. So I told him I have no shame to make that happen. So he's here, and we're blessed to have him. So as he does the prayer, we're going to stand, and we're going to face the east, the south, the west, and the north as part of this as he does his prayer. And he'll use, the mics can pick him up pretty good from anywhere here. So, and the mics also are made so that they can pick your voices up out there when we have the Q&R time. So with that, Eshe, would you give us prayer?
Yep. So if everyone wants to stand up, we're going to face this way. I'm going to read from my phone because I do not have this memorized yet. So forgive me for that. But light bearer, we now face the east. We thank you for a new day and a new beginning. We thank you for the fire, which gives warmth, light, and protection, and for our inner fire that has rejuvenated each new day through your spirit. We remember the days of old when our ancestors would gather around the sacred fire, and remember that we are human beings made for relationship. We ask that whatever parts of our being need light and nourishment, that you would shine your life-giving spirit on us, just as Father Son shines life-giving light on Mother Earth each new day. Bring light and wisdom to our life's journeys so that we don't walk in darkness. We're going to go this way, to the south. So life-giving spirit, we now face the south. We thank you for the gift of healing and adaptability. We thank you for the waters of life which nourish our beings. We know that without water, we would die very quickly, and so we give thanks for this element that nourishes us. Help us to care for the waters of life. We ask that you would show us how to be fluid like water, so that when new or difficult situations come up, we can navigate them in a good and healthy way. Bring abundance to our lives so that we can channel your abundance to the nations around us. We're going to go this way to the west. Great healer, we now face the west. We thank you for the night as well as for the day. We thank you for bringing to light what would otherwise remained in darkness. We also thank you for the challenges of life that increase our dependence on the light. We know that seeds germinate in the darkness of the earth, and the soil we live with is life-giving. We are thankful for the soil and ask that we will sense our responsibility to keeping the soil well and healthy for all of creation and for future generations. We ask that whatever arises that is negative, that you would give us clarity to know how to end toxic cycles that don't serve ourselves, you, or the community of creation. Bring rest to our spirits and resolutions to the cycles that we encounter, just as our relatives rest when the sun sets each new day. I'm going to face the north. Rescuing spirit, we now face the north. We thank you for the spirit of the wind which breathes life into all of us moment by moment. We thank your life-giving breath for resurrecting the parts of us that were dead. We know that without the wind, without the air, that without your spirit breath, that we would die within minutes. We are thankful for the air and the winds of life that nourish us and all of creation. Help us to care for them. We ask that our minds and hearts would be nourished and kept well. We ask for good thoughts and for protection from the crooked ways of the trickster spirit, and we also ask you for a blessing and guidance to those who we perceive to be our enemies. We bring your protection and purifying presence to revive the parts of us that need healing and new life, just as the winds blow the dead leaves from the trees so that new leaves can grow in their place. And if you feel inclined, you can face back towards me. I'm going to go towards the earth and towards the sky. Spirit which comes to us from Grandmother Earth, we thank you for supporting and feeding us throughout our lives. It is said that when we separate from the womb of our human mothers, you take the place as a nourisher, as our Mother the Earth. We ask that whatever creator you would have us to do with our hands and our feet, to usher in the new creation and the present creation, that we would hear and respond to your voice. We ask you to help us and to take pity on us as human beings, so that we can use the gifts you provide us in a good way in order to bring more life into the world. And we're going to face the sky. Spirit which comes to us from Grandfather Sky, we thank you for the blessings of life, Creator. And we thank you for being near to us moment by moment and never leaving us. Remind us of your power when we grow weak. Communicate to us with your love and grow our hearts soft so that we can be like a hollow bone that is clear. And Ahani, let it be so. Amen.
Thank you for that. Thank you. Also, I teach seminary. I'm a missiologist. Got my doctoral degree from Fuller Seminary, and really helped me prepare for the ministry that I'm doing. Not only to teach others how they can better reach a badly needed population that less than 5% claim to be believers in Christ. So any agency, missionary agency in the world would say you have an unreached population in your own backyard. And that's something that we got to consider. So with that, we're going to turn it over to Brian, who's going to have our first song here.
All right, so guys who are going to be on the drum, you guys can come up. And Shane, you can go ahead and uncover the drum for me while I get everything set up here.
Also, hello everybody. Sorry I'm late. I came from Southern Utland. So
This is our MC. This is Fedadaka.
yes.
And ladies, if you would like to join us by standing around the drum and with your rattle, you can take that. Just move it back there if you want, right?
Okay.
And you're welcome to take pictures. Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to share the lyrics up on the screen. If you're in the room here, there should have been a lyric sheet
It took me a long
on
time.
your chair, and then it's also up here on the screen. And then we come over to the drum and we'll get going.
Rick,
He's been known to drum. I didn't know that about him for a while.
It just starts with some side sticks, and then we'll go to the main beat, and then there's a part in the middle where we do this whoa, and then there's a stop right after that each time. So hopefully you'll catch it on the fly. Wake ya hey ya ho, wake ya hey ya ho, wake ya hey ya hey, wake ya hey ya ho, wake ya hey ya ho, wake ya hey ya hey, wake ya hey ya ho, wake ya hey ya ho, wake ya hey ya hey, wake ya hey ya ho, wake ya hey ya ho, wake ya hey ya hey. Wake ya hey ya ho, wake ya hey ya ho,
Hey, good. And Coach, you got the blanket?
Yeah.
Hey, Rick,
Yeah.
he does know how to drum.
No $5 fly without rehearsal. That'd be awesome.
You can take over from here.
Can you guys hear? Hear it good?
Zoom land, can you hear
Oh,
it?
wait, not yet.
Now,
They're hearing muffled, eh? Can you guys hear us now?
here we go.
All right, all right. Thank you, everybody, for joining us again. Sorry that I was not here right at the beginning, but I did come from my homeland. We recently dropped my uncle back off in Ignacio again, so he's not staying in Oklahoma no more. So, but that's okay. He needs to be home. So now we will go into our creation insights, and during this time is when we just talk about something that we've seen throughout the week, throughout our day or something, something in nature, something that Creator has put on our hearts, something that Creator has given us something to share. So we're going to hand it over to our brother Joe Lopez, for our creation insights. So go ahead and take it away, Joe.
And Joe, would you tell us where you're from, too?
Yeah, Dagate. My name's Joe Lopez. I am Pueblo and Apache from south of Albuquerque. There, I don't live there though. I'm a guest here in Los Angeles on the homelands of the Gabrielino Tongva Mission Indian Band. So I try to honor them as much as I can and whenever I can. So I do a lot of plant stuff, and so I was trying to get out of my garden because I think the last time I talked, I was talking about my garden, but I'm still there. So anyway, I wanted to pass on some information, and maybe Dave can throw this up in the chat. So there's there's a nonprofit called Native Seed Search, and I was planting my corn the other day, because I live in this ridiculous place where you can plant corn in March. And I'm actually 3 weeks late for that, but I was able to obtain some seeds from this place that were they're from my people. They're from different pueblos. They got stuff from all over the place. So I was able to reach out to a Hopi friend of mine who lives local here, and offer him a corner of my cornfield. He was kind of having not a bad time, but just a lot of life happening. So I offered him to come out and to plant some of his corn and kind of do a little corn ceremony, and hopefully we get to play some songs together, and yeah, just enjoy our plant relatives, enjoy their season of growth and life, and get to watch them grow up, and then have a barbecue hopefully at the end of all of it. So anyway, I was just encouraged by that. My family from a long time ago could cultivate and save seed, and then today able to share that with another relative of mine. So anyway, thank you so much.
All right, aho, brother. And it's not bad to be in the garden, because like it says in the song, I come to the garden alone while the dew is still on the roses. Eh? So there's nothing wrong with hanging out in that garden. And that's where you're closest with Creator anyway, out there in the nature. Eh? But that's what I thought of. And of course, the corn.
Got that sign language down.
Yes. But yeah, speaking of that, are we doing the sign language tonight?
I don't know. Tonight's just we're in the middle of the month. So.
Oh, okay. So we'll just watch Liam Aku speed run it then. Eh? But yeah, okay. So we will be going into Creator's Prayer, right?
Mm-hmm.
From the First Nations version. That is found in Matthew 6, 9 through 13. As far as I can tell anyway. I'm not 100% sure about that. But, but yeah, so we're going to go ahead and read Creator's Prayer as Creator teaches us how to pray. So go ahead and take it away, Brian.
Right. Creator Sets Free shows us how to pray. And for those here, we've also been doing it in sign language. And like once a month, Leah McCoo, who's here she's just very tiny on the side for you guys. She takes us through in sign language slowly, but then the rest of the month, we just try to do what we can with it as we're reading it. So if you see us all flopping around, that's what's
Only thing I remember is corn.
Creator Sets Free shows us how to pray. Oh, great Spirit, our Father from above, we honor your name as sacred and holy. Bring your good road to us, where the beauty of your ways in the spirit world above is reflected in the earth below. Provide for us day by day the elk, the buffalo, the salmon, the corn, the squash, and the wild rice, all the things we need for each day. Release us from the things that we have done wrong. In the same way, we release others who have done wrong to us. Guide us away from the things that tempt us to stray from your good road, and set us free from the evil one and his worthless ways. Aho, may it be so.
Dang, Brian.
Okay, we tried, okay? Me and Eshe were over here like, oh, we're just like behind it.
I'm just surprised how much Brian's got it down. I'm like, dang, this guy showing us up, man.
It's more confidence than anything else. Just like when I've tried to learn foreign languages, I get the accent down really good. So people who don't actually speak it are like
really impressed.
Like, man, you sound really good. But then if someone who knows the language will be like, man, have you been drinking?
Oh gosh, eh? Yeah. But yes, me and Eshe were over here like half a second behind. We're like, what comes next? we couldn't see Leah. She was in a little tiny little square. I was like,
make it till you make it.
Yes. All right. So now we go into our smoke signals time. During this time, it's like our announcements. So in the old days, our people would send announcements around a fire with a blanket. Each tribe, band, clan, whatever you want to call your people's little areas, communicated through the smoke around a home fire. So in this way, we have our own little home fire here. So we're going to go ahead and do our announcements. And I'm going to hand it over to Uncle Casey for our smoke signals time. So go ahead and take it away, Uncle.
Right, yeah. Yeah, smoke signals time here. One, glad that you're all here. That was a big announcement that we've been doing all for the last month here, that you guys are going to be here. So tomorrow, Tuesdays, is when we have our book group, and we're going through a book that I wrote. And we've done 3 other books before this, and this is I'm going through this, and this is really a chance for me to really share a real personal story that I wrote in here about how I came to this place of being able to worship the Creator from who He made me and not who the world wants me to be. So that mainly made me to recognize that I was doing it in spirit and in truth. I was true to myself and not being forced upon by a hegemonic way that the world of the church forced upon Native people to worship. So what you're seeing today is an outcome of spending some time reading this book. And the book group is great, man. Some great conversations. We have a couple of people that are working in different ministries that are sharing it with their folks as well as they're doing some church plans. So that's coming. And Christina, are you able to talk about the women's group that's going on?
Yes, I can. I am Christina. So we have the women's group on Thursday. You'll have to reach out to me to get the passcode. There is security measures on the women's group because we've had some issues before in the past. So just send me an email. You can connect with me on Facebook, and I'll put my email in the chat. And we have it Thursday evenings, and we start at 7 p.m. on Zoom.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, this coming week, we got a concert coming up. Our musician is arriving on Friday, and then Saturday we're going to have a concert here. Most of you see there's a flyer on your seat there. You can look at that. Spread the word to all of the people that you know. So especially this area, if you know different people, this is going to be a great concert. Let Laura come up. She also has an announcement that she wants to share too about the ministry that she's doing, and she can also talk about the concert too. One thing about the musician that's coming, Terry Wildman, he is the editor and the creator of this version of the Bible. It's the New Testament coming out very soon, and I believe very soon Psalms will be coming out in this, and then Proverbs will be directly after that. It'll probably take another year and a half to do that. But this is so greatly needed. If you know, at the time when they did the 1611 King James, it was written for the people of that time in a vernacular that they understood. This is the same thing. It's written for the people of this time in a vernacular that we understand. And it's greatly needed. It's being used by many, many people now. And he's going to be here, and he'll be talking about this as well.
Do I use this mic?
Either one. Either one.
If you have
Oh, okay. First. Yat Laura Morgan Church Yanisha, Twitchini Nishle, Shaya Sena Jenny Bushes Chin, Ado, Sinjakin Dasha Che, Do Hatso, Dene Dashanale. Hi, I'm Laura Church, and I am Navajo. And in our teachings, when you introduce yourself, you're more than just your name. You represent your family, you represent your community, you represent where you came from. And so in Navajo, I shared my clans. So for Navajos, we have 4 clans, and we're called the 5-finger people. In Navajo, this is She, Shema, Sheje, Shemasane, Sheche, Do, Shenale. Myself, my mom, my dad, my maternal grandmother, and my maternal grandfather, and my paternal grandfather, and my maternal grandmother. So in Navajo, I shared my clans. In English, my mother's clan is Bitter Water, and my father's clan is Black Streak Wood. And my maternal grandfather's clan is the Cliff Dwelling people, and my paternal grandfather's clan is the Green Meadow people. And this is very important for us, as whether we're Dene, Navajo, or other tribes that have clans, because then when you introduce yourself out to a group, then you look around to see, who am I related to? Then you say, can I borrow $20? No, actually, can I have $20? So I wanted to share a couple of announcements, and some go back to what has happened within Good Medicine Way. So we have been relocated 3 times, and now we're here at Mesa View. And we made the transition to Mesa View in the month of October, and then in November we set up here. And I wanted to just tell you, it has been amazing. the doors are opening up, the people are coming. I don't know if it's so much location or whether it's people getting to know more of Good Medicine Way, but there's more activities that are happening more so than before, and I just wanted to share a couple announcements. So March 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, the North American Institute for Indigenous Theological Studies, NATES is the acronym. They have this theological school that is online. And many of the faculty members and other invited guests came here to Albuquerque, and more specifically came to this location, Good Medicine Way, along with in partnership with Mesa View. We hosted them. It was a 3-day session. They discussed the topic of appreciative inquiry, because they're really looking at enhancing the curriculum. Many of them have published works in academia, and some of us was there. I just threw in my 2 cents because whatever you're discussing, I'm the common person, so make it relevant and understanding for us common people. So they wanted to also express their gratitude to good, not only to Good Medicine Way, but to Mesa View for hosting, and there was some more like collaboration going on during the break time, so that's amazing. Another event that we hosted, which was funded by the Vitality Grant through the Methodist Church, we wrote a proposal and it was funded, and we're calling it Food for Thought. It's a campus ministry where here in Albuquerque, you have the University of New Mexico, you have Central New Mexico Community College, and then just down the hill and to the left over there, in Navajo would say over there, is the Southwest Indian Polytechnical Institute, SIPI. So in this project, we wanted to really be creative, and how can we do outreach to the campuses in our location? And so we have snack bags that we would prepare, and then some literature that would go in the snack bags. And in the month of February, a couple of people distribute 120 snack bags on the campus of University of New Mexico. So we're still in coordination with the other 2 campuses, but that was a project that was funded by the Vitality Grant. Sewing 101. So our outreach is really, we're very purposeful and very intentional of how we do outreach. Many of us who grew up in the church are familiar with other ways of outreach, but we want to look at ways to where we can reach out to the Native community that attracts their attention, that would attract my attention just as well. So one of the outreach is Sewing 101. And we started this a couple of years ago where I, through the New Church Development Funding and other community donors, they allowed us, or the funding allowed us to purchase sewing machines and fabric and ribbon and all of the sewing notions. And I have hosted several community education in teaching the community, one, how to make these ribbon skirts, because it's a traditional garment, and some of our regalia is intertribal, which means, you know, many different tribes can wear a particular, let's say, outfit, and then some may be specific to our own tribes. And so we probably have reached over 50 individuals through our Sewing 101. And then I just got finished because the Albuquerque Public School Indian Education Department has reached out to us, and I just completed 6 weekly sessions with high school students. And then Saturday, I finished 3 Saturdays, it's like 3 by 3, 3 hours for 3 Saturdays, and met with the young men and the women. And the young men made or sewed vests, and the young women made a ribbon skirt, and we're getting ready to have a Native American fashion show through the Indian Education April 10th. So they're going to create a category for all garments that were made by the students. So I'm excited about that.
Yes, yes.
Last announcement. So I'm a visual learner, and so I have to see things. But this isn't done. In indigenous communities and in many other communities, there's many traumatic events that have happened, whether it's historical trauma or even contemporary trauma. And we wrote a grant. It was funded by the Pippin grant and the New Church Development Funds and some other donors. And we have a program called Circle of Healing, Gently Unwrapping Trauma Through Community Education. And I purposely named it gently because things that have happened to many individuals, you just can't rip off the Band-Aid. You have to slowly uncover it. And so tomorrow, we meet on Tuesday nights. It's an 8-week program. We're in session number 4. And we're using the curriculum called Triumph Through Trauma. And it's a 7-week curriculum, but I've extended one more session as an 8th session. And the curriculum developers had given permission to 2 individuals, one which happens to be our Good Medicine Way ministry coach, Carol Easton, and Michelle LeClock. The curriculum developers gave them permission to take that curriculum and then adapt some Native American supplemental material. And so we've been using not only the curriculum, but also incorporating our Native teachings. And one of them, which this is not the finished product, but this is the start of a medicine wheel. And just as Eshe had shared with us this 4 directions prayer and then 3 other directions. So if you see this hoop, and in the medicine wheel, there's different colors, and every color represents a different, there's significant meanings. So in this particular curriculum, the yellow represents remembering the trauma. That was a tough night. The red represents naming your trauma. That was another tough night. But we have another section to go over, which will be tomorrow evening, and another, and then we're going to hang some other ties here. So there's going to be seven teachings within the medicine wheel. And we also have a behavioral health specialist that we wrote into the grant. All of us, actually, Good Medicine Way staff, we are trained in the curriculum, but we're launching it, and I think we are first in the nation to offer the Triumph Through Trauma with the Native American supplement here in Albuquerque, here through Good Medicine Way, in collaboration with Mesa View. So I'm very honored to be a part of that. And last piece, I just wanted to share one text from a participant. No names, because it's all private with names. But she says, and we have 10 women, "Thank you for opening up this time and space where we will all be able to dig deep and allow Creator to heal our pain, to be healed." So I know I took a little bit more time, but especially for the visitors, I really want you to get a sense of what we're doing here through Good Medicine Way and the extensions of partnerships that we have with Mesa View. That it's amazing, and I just want to thank you for coming. And if you have any questions on any of the project, just let me know. Oh, okay. Yeah, that means thank you.
Thank you. So I do have a bit of an announcement, if that's all right. So over the past weekend, I was able to participate in a Native InterVarsity Bible study that they usually have during spring break in California. But since COVID hit, they had to bring it from California back over here. So that was part of the reason why I was able to be here too this weekend today. But during that time, we went over the book of Mark. And for some reason, there's always this the same parable or story that Creator somehow shares with me. And I had this a whole nother light on it now. It's the one where Creator was near the sea, or was like in the Sea of Galilee, I think, when he was talking to the masses on a boat. And it was also the part where they were going through the storm or something. But I just wanted to share a little bit about that. I know my brother Rashawn is supposed to be on here, my bro Sean, But I just wanted to shout out to Native InterVarsity, and with the Would Jesus Eat Fry Bread coming up, I'm really excited to see everybody again. But also, aside from that, I wanted to do a little quick shout out to our brother Namar. I have your book here. Our brother Namar here has written a book, From the Juke to the Church, a spiritual journey of a Black Cherokee blues man. I started reading the first couple of pages, and it's actually pretty good. So you can get this for $20 on Amazon in the hard copy, but they also have a $10 Kindle version. So if you want to look it up, Namar Newson, From the Juke to the Church. And this is what it looks like. And for the women's group, are we still doing this? The Sacred Belongings?
Yeah,
I have the other book for that too. But yeah. So are there any other announcements?
That's
Got through most of them?
that's good.
Okay.
Our giveaway.
All right, so now we're going into our giveaway time. And during our time of celebration, like how we gather tonight, we gather together items, clothing, mazaska, or grocery baskets, or other various items to help, to give to others. In this way, you all get an opportunity to share what you can give from your heart. Like where I come from, I am from the land of the Osage, the Wichita, the Kiowa, Comanche, and Caddo. I come from Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. I used to live here in the Four Corners area, but I moved there. And during our times of honoring, like how we're honoring ourselves tonight with our group sharing that we'll be having, usually we honor our featured speaker. We usually gather together items to give away in honor of them. The more that you give, the more that you receive, I guess. But yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and hand this over to my Uncle Casey to do our giveaway time. Yeah.
All right. One of my traditions in my Potawatomi ways is that when you do sacred teachings and ceremony, it's okay to laugh. All right. Yeah. And one of the things is when I do some talks, people, they said, man, his humor's so dry. Yeah, so it's okay. That's part of my teachings. My elder that taught me, Jim McKinney, who was a ordained United Methodist pastor from Kansas. He's Potawatomi. Passed on now, but he taught me that. He says you have to do some humor whenever you do ceremony, and church service is ceremony. So if you get things too serious, it gets way out of balance. He said, so when you laugh it up a little bit, you bring it back into balance again. So that is part of the way that we do ministry here. So this was given to me by Eshe. It's some sage that he picked up for us. So this is one way of giving. So we'll put this on the blanket, so lay that there. So the humor part of this is that this is your opportunity to give. And what a good friend of mine, Richard Twist, would always say at this time, he would say, this is your opportunity to reach in the pocket of your neighbor, get his wallet, and give like you've always wanted to give. So with that, I ask you to come. The blanket is here. Brian is going to do a song for us, and while he does that song, you come and place your gift on the blanket. We don't do the offering plate. We do the blanket here. And this is a way that Native people take offerings, and they help, and they do, a lot of times at a powwow, they'll do a blanket song for somebody who needs financial assistance, and they'll do that. So this is the way we bring up our offering. So, Brian?
All right, and online we're going to share the our QR code blanket. So if you want to scan that code, that'll take you to a PayPal interface if you want to give that way. And then let me see, I got it over here where I can.
We're modern Indians, okay? Modern Indians.
Yeah, you're asking, this is one of the ways that we have got people to give to a Good Medicine Way. And it's been very, very good for them. It's, they're getting something from our service. And because they're all over the country and Canada, some are even overseas that join us, that it's a way for them. They can QR code it, and then they can give to the ministry here in Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Yeah, and then the song we're going to have is actually Joe Lopez shared this with me. He was the one that was on before talking about his garden, and it's the planting season, and so he had a planting song that he shared with me, and so that's what we're going to play. And yeah, it seemed appropriate for, because we're putting seed forth, and we're hoping for like a good return. So, yeah.
It is almost spring now, so yeah.
Good time to plant.
Yes. Yes, thank you very much for that, Joe. I actually started to almost cry just now. I just remembered that the thing that I learned this weekend was about seeds. Which soil are you planted in? Are you in the rocky soil? Are you on the side of the path? Or are you on the good soil? There was 4 different kinds, but so hearing that song from Joe with what he had to share, it made me think of which soil I may be planted in. So there's some little food for thought. Just kidding. Which soil are you planted in? But yes. So now we will be handing it over to Nima Lakuyer, right? Is that how you say that? She will be reading Creator's Word. We learned from the sacred teaching found in the Bible, translated from our dear relative Terry Wildman. So I'm going to go ahead and ask Nima to come on over here and go ahead and read Creator's Word for us. I forget which section is from though.
Hi, Sacred Family. Hello, Sacred Family. What an honor to read Creator's Word tonight. I am reading from the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 9, verse 9. This is in the First Nations version. If you have it, it is on page 14 and 15. Actually, I'm going to start on page 15. There is a little commentary in the middle that I'm also going to read. Some of you may not be familiar with this version, and the names of Jesus and Matthew and the Romans have very beautiful and meaningful names that I keep looking them up, and they directly correlate with the Hebrew names. So it's really compelling to read the names from this version. So hear now the gospel of our Lord Jesus Christ according to the recordings of Matthew. Before I read this, I remind us that this is a time that Jesus had just healed a crippled man. Jesus was always healing. Every time he encountered anyone, they were changed. They were healed in one way or another. This is about a tax collector. Creator sets free, which is Jesus, left there, and as he walked on, he saw a tribal tax collector named Gift from Creator, Matthew, sitting at his tax booth. Now, tribal tax collectors were often tribal members who were given the right to collect taxes for the people of iron, the Romans. They could force their own people under the threat of violence to pay them. To make a living, they would take more than the people of iron required. But many of them became greedy and took even more than they were permitted. They were hated and looked down upon by their people. Creator sets free, Jesus, to the surprise of all, walked right up to the tribal tax collector and said to him, "Gift from Creator, come and walk the road with me." So he got up from his tax booth, left it all behind, and began to walk the road with Creator sets free. And this is the word of God for the people of God. Thanks be to God. Aho.
Aho, Nima. Thank you very much for that. I guess I'm going through something right now. So we'll go into the centering time now with the Native American flute that will be provided by Brian. During this time, we prepare our hearts to receive the word or story being shared by our honored relatives tonight. We clear our minds and our hearts to listen. So go ahead and take it away.
Pastor Casey Church. I'm Pokagon Band Potawatomi from Southwest Lower Michigan. And I got my call to ministry up there while I was working with the Indian Workers Conference. It's a group of Native pastors and leaders of 10 Indian churches in Michigan. And so I was a part of that. I came on that group there. I was younger then, and I came on as the voice for the youth, because in years past there just hadn't been anyone speaking to that population at the time. So I came on even then trying to push for some recognition and some ministry opportunities that could lead into the young people becoming more involved. And we still need that today. So that's where I got my start back in the day. And it just led me on even further to kind of gather my thoughts as I just wondered, because I grew up in a church called Salem Indian United Methodist Church. And if you closed your eyes and you listened to what was going on in that church, you wouldn't know if you were in any other church in the conference, because it was just strictly a white Western United Methodist approach to doing ministry. Very small attendance, even though the population of Native people were very large. And it just was not connecting with any people outside of that church. And it was just this holy huddle of people that grew up, and very, very good. It's where I came to faith. So, but it was not reaching the community around us at all. And over the years, I think a lot of us know the history of the Native American people. You know that it was a genocide. It was a genocide to eliminate a people and also to eliminate them culturally. So it was a big mess, just to put it that way. Government was involved. State government, federal government, churches were involved in this cultural genocide of the Native American people. And it was to take care of a problem that massacres did not take care of. I was talking with Pastor Nima before, while we were getting set up, and I says, maybe out in this area here, why isn't there enough Native ministries out here? There's something going on that's underlying. There's just an apathy towards the Native population here. And I kind of jokingly but seriously said, well, maybe the Texas Rangers just didn't kill enough of us. Maybe they should have kept on killing with the soldiers coming through and the massacres and the wiping out of the Native people here. We even had a Methodist pastor up there in Colorado. Some of you know of that incident up there in Colorado Springs, of a Methodist pastor that led a massacre of women and children, brutally tearing that up. But that's part of the history. It's even part of Methodist history. Even so much that Native people, the children, were sold so that they could be raised in white Western homes. And that alone, by the people, the educated people of the day, they said if that alone was a way to not kill them, but raise them in white Western homes, that would take their culture away. And that would eliminate this cultural thing that we're doing today. All of our ways were demonized. They were restricted usage. You couldn't do your dances, you couldn't do your ceremonies, and it didn't come into legally not until the 70s, when it was authorized that Native people could worship in their own native way with how they honored the Creator. And if we ever get a chance to talk, I can go into much theology and missiology about the way this could be done. So there is a way forward, but it is going to be a hard road to go forward, because the government and the churches have just built a wall of separation that is just going to keep this unbelieving population from coming to Christ. There's just too much of a big resentment that's happening because of the way we were treated and still being treated. We do a lot of, I'm going to take this a couple of different directions, but I'm going to end it on a very good note. So I really want to just, really rub your face in the dirt for just a little while so that you kind of get an idea that things got to change. Things got to change, and you got to wake up to what's going on. You just can't sit back and say that, why don't we have a Native ministry? I've been trying to get this Native ministry started for 21 years. And this is the only conference time right now, annual conference, that has really taken any look at what we're doing finally. And part of that, because I'm a Methodist, it's partly because there's too much of a leadership change constantly. I've gone through 5 superintendents in 21 years. I've gone through 5 pastors in this church alone. By the time I get one up to speed on what we're trying to do, they leave. Yeah, there's really no skin in the game involved in Native ministry because they're here for a bit and they're gone. Someone told me, somebody in the audience at the church, they says, well, if you don't like the pastor, just wait 3 years, we'll get a new one. That kind of thing. So there just isn't enough skin in the game to continue some kind of relationship to build a Native ministry here in town. So it has always been my thing to just keep pressing forward, and I have not stopped in 31 years. So I planted a church like this in Grand Rapids, Michigan. And because I was a local boy, it really caught on. So people knew me and trusted me. So that ministry took off, and it was an experimental time where I was able to see how a Native ministry could possibly look from their context and not a white Western context. And we opened the doors in June of 1996. At the same time, the World Christian Gathering of Indigenous People in New Zealand was taking place. And this was a bunch of my colleagues that were doing, future colleagues that were doing that, while I was planning an Indigenous-style church in Grand Rapids, one of the first ones in the nation at the time. So that was taking place. We opened the door with 80 people. And if you know anything about Native ministry, if you have 20, you have a large congregation. Yeah. And there's the outliers, those that have, 60 and 70, but the majority of them are very, very small churches. And mostly they're family churches. And because they haven't reached out and populations of broadening in the community into it. So I set my track because of some experiences that I've had. One bad experience I had, I'll go through this story quickly, is that after my uncle passed, after 32 years of preaching at that church, and that was the only time that I've ever seen a Methodist pastor stay that long, but a Native pastor preaching that long and was my pastor. When he retired, we went through a couple of retired pastors. Then we got someone that wanted to be our pastor. Pastor Miller. He came on because he had married a Native woman. The only thing about this Native woman is that she was raised in a Christian Reformed white home. So if you ever heard the term apple, yeah, apple is red on the outside, white on the inside. Yeah. So she was completely a white Western Dutch woman on the inside, but her outer appearance was just her as a Native. And so they came on. They were a pastor, wife and husband. They came and they asked to be appointed to that church. They came on in October. In the previous, the summer there, I grew up in the Native setting where my mom was a powwow vendor cook. And she made the best traditional styled corn, and the Native people flocked to us and that was one of the reasons that the church took off so well, is because my mom was always there. She always was talking about Jesus as well, even when she was selling corn. So I grew up with springtime, summertime, and fall doing these powwows and being with the Native people right all around me all the time. So that was part of my life for about 6 years straight. We were doing that. the Pastor Miller come on, and he came on later. So come all through the winter time, he was our pastor, preaching to us. Come springtime, my mom approaches him, and she says, I want to let you know that next week, my family and I are not going to be here. We're going to be at the local powwow in Grand Rapids, where we start our summer off with our first powwow, and we sell. And, it's a way that, with a big family, that's the way that we buy food, and we buy clothes and shoes for the family. But she's going to go to this powwow setting. Pastor Miller put he was a big guy, big belly, put his arms on his belly like this, and he looked at my mom, and she says, Mary Church, if you go to that powwow this weekend, do not bother coming back to this church again. And Pastor Miller was an Asbury grad, ordained United Methodist pastor with an Master's of Divinity. And I go, whoa, this was one of my first schools I was going to look at to go into ministry. And boy, that changed my mind right away. It's like, what did they teach this guy there? Didn't they have any? I know that they have the E. Stanley Jones School of World Mission there, and it's supposed to be one of the top ones in the world. And where did he get this? And so that was my my introduction to what is going on with Native ministries. So it's out there. There is a mindset that still demonizes Native people, that in order for them to come to Christ, they have to become in a white Western way. Yeah. But from my experience and with my colleagues now, and Laura mentioned NAITS. NAITS, the acronym, NAITS, if you look it up, it's just the acronym. We changed it. We kept the acronym, but we added an Indigenous Learning Community. That is the name of our newly recognized ATS-approved theological seminary without a building. We do not have a building, but we're fully accredited by the Association of Theological Schools. And 98% out of our 27 instructors that we have, 25 of them are Indigenous. So we're getting a theological grounding and a theological teaching from an Indigenous expression of the Bible and theology that you could never get. If I was to go to Perkins, you know what I get? I would get a white Western expression of Christianity and an approach to doing missions. So that's what I would get. So we just went through this book. Anybody, do you know of this book? All of you pastors and lay leaders and all that. Pagan Christianity by Frank Viola and George Barna. That's a critical name to know about doing this book. I didn't teach it in a way that puts down the white Western church. And that's what a lot of people get out of this, is that the things that you're doing in a service like this, it has this carryover from pagan influence. When Paul crossed the Aegean Sea, he went into a white indigenous world. Did you know that? He crossed an Aegean Sea from the people of the Middle East, crossed into Europe. So in the beginning, he did mission work into white Western Europe, white Southern Europe, you could say. Yeah. So that was the introduction of Jesus Christ into Europe. And so the way I teach this is that Europe created a Christianity that looked like them. Okay? That's exactly what we're doing when we come to a service like this. But a lot of what we do in here, we borrow from the Catholics. Yeah. A lot of what we do. Yeah. So the order of worship, it basically comes from the 1500s, and we still borrow that order of worship, only we tweak it a little bit because we're Methodists. We want to be completely like the Catholics, so we tweak it a little bit to make it more Methodist. But we borrowed it. We didn't create anything new. We didn't use an imaginative way to create something that looked like, let's say, the French people or the Spanish people or the Dutch people. They could have created an expression of all that, but what they did is a conglomerate way of doing white Western Christianity. But the thing is, they got it right. They took their cultural ways and they created a Christianity that best reached their world and their people. That's what God wanted us to do. What did he do? He came from heaven to our world. He didn't ask us to worship him like this. He says, I come to your world among you. Now worship me here. God, I made you this way. Okay? There's one of these signs that we have here. If I can look at here. But it says, worshiping God the way he created you. So that's one of the expressions that I try to teach in this, is that Europe got it right, but the way they expressed it in all of their mission work around the world is what they got wrong. They didn't give the same liberty that they took to create a Christianity that looked like them to any other people, indigenous people group around the world. And that's what would have spread the gospel everywhere. And we would have had a lot more believers in Christ. So we have a lot of ground to make up if we're going to bring the gospel message to, let's just say, Albuquerque. Like I told you, there's like over 40,000 natives that live in the city limits. And there's another 30,000 out there in Rio Rancho that don't have a Native American United Methodist congregation or ministry. So it's really badly needed. I wrote another book here, and it's how to make that transition start in your community, your church. How do you get started? It's with relationship. We've been doing this now over 5 years now. And we're now just getting to the point, and this is the same thing I tell a lot of missionaries and people going to reach with Native people. They go into a community and they say, oh, we're going to have a revival, we're going to start preaching the gospel to them, we want to get people saved right away. There's some stories about that mentality too. But I tell them, spend 5 years building your relationship with them until they ask you about, why do you do what you do to us? You love us. You're with us. You're always with us. You help us. You're part of our community. And we want to come. We want to know the God that you know. But this community doesn't have that. We have had no touch with the White Western Methodist Church over 150 years here. So this beginning point that we're doing here is really way out there. And we're doing things culturally, but we're really way out there because of what we're doing here. And I want to give a little bit of time to Brian here to tell you about his technology here. This is what's making or breaking the way we're going to reach Native people. And COVID forced it into us 4 years ago. Did you know that? It's been 4 years ago that we started that journey of COVID. Right?
Sure. Okay. So just real briefly. When the pandemic happened, because we started Good Medicine Way in the summer of 2017, and we were just meeting a small group of people, and it was kind of it was growing, and it was meaningful for people, and then the pandemic happened, and you couldn't meet in person for a while until things got more under control. So we went online. We started meeting online, and then we thought, well, man, if we're meeting online, let's invite this speaker that's halfway across the country to come and present to us, because all they got to do is turn on the computer and do it. So we started this thing because we were always very much about hearing a lot of voices and not always hearing the same voice all the time. And even that's why in our services we do a lot of discussion time, because we want to hear from everybody. So we were also like, we want to hear from the broader Native community. And so we started reaching out to different folks to do it, and then that's how Petadaka and Eshe first heard of us. And so these people just started connecting in. They'd hear about like, oh man, there's this contextual church thing going on on Zoom. Like, let's check it out or whatever. So even up here, we have a very wide representation of people. We have Canada and California, Colorado, Midwest, Indiana, Ohio, East Coast is up there. So so folks from all over, and they're part of our community. So once the pandemic kind of got more under control and things kind of got more back to normal, we're like, well, we have this whole virtual community. Like that's our church, and so how do we go back to growing something locally while still maintaining and nurturing all these virtual connections? And so that's when we decided to go with this kind of hybrid kind of approach, where we have people in person and we have people meeting virtually. A lot of times when people do a virtual thing, they just do like some kind of a broadcast. So it's just like, oh, well, we're having our church service and you're watching it on your computer. We didn't want that. We wanted to keep everybody like fully involved, fully in the congregation. So that's why we do a Zoom session, and that way, they can interact the same as anybody else. And like sometimes we have more in person, sometimes we have more virtual, sometimes it's about the same, but it's always a good mix when we come in, and so that's how we do it. So basically we host a Zoom session, people connect into the Zoom session. We also do live streams in addition to the Zoom session. So if people can't connect into the Zoom session for some reason, they can watch a live stream. But even with those, we monitor the comments on Facebook and YouTube as we're going. That's why I have this other screen down here. And that way, if people ask questions through the comments there, then we can bring them up and address them and talk about it. So we try to even involve those people who can't be part of the Zoom session but are still watching. And then also, with the YouTube live stream, we archive all of those online. So all of our services are online, and we have a lot of people who can't necessarily make it on Monday nights, but who regularly go back and watch the gathering from the YouTube stream, and then they often communicate with us, and we'll hear a little bit more about that later. But yeah, so that's the basic rundown.
Yeah,
how we do this crazy hybrid thing.
Yeah, and starting that and having a talented person that can do all the technology is what you might have to hire in near settings, and it'd be well worth it. We get Brian for a song. Hey. Yeah, he's like, some of the music that he puts out is just so good. He did that really raspy one. Yeah, that was really
He has a
cool
wide
one.
range of
yeah,
vocals.
wide range. He had a 12-string guitar, and he just played something that was just so cool and so spiritual. It's just great. We're so blessed to have him. But think about this kind of ministry. It's kind of like any other thing that you do. It's the hot thing that's happening. Yeah, everybody wants to get on board and try to make something of it. It used to be the seeker-sensitive service, and where that led us. That got into a lot of trouble. But it was really great during the times. I went to those services. I went to Saddleback Community Church back in '92. Went to Willow Creek Community Church in '91, and did all their leadership ways of doing service. But what I did is I took their principles of reaching people and applied them to my context. So I put it into my native context here. So what is in that I can do that will connect with the native people that I'm trying to reach? And one of them has been this is reaching, affirming our native culture is one thing. That God made you who you are, and you can worship Him. You do not have to deny your identity, your ethnicity, and your culture to believe in Jesus Christ. And our example is the white Western way. Did not deny who they were, but created Christianity that looked like them. Now, tell every culture around the world they can do the same thing. That's my whole point here. But okay, on a positive note, this has been the greatest thing for my spirit to grow in my relationship with Christ. And they'll testify to it as well. And I'm going to give us, I've asked them, I've already kind of prompted everybody to say, give us your 2-minute talk about what Good Medicine Way means to you. Yeah, and so a few people, they're going to probably raise their hands, and I'll ask them here in person, Pastor Nima as well. So we're going to do a little bit of that. And you got to know that when you come to our service, it isn't like a Methodist service. You don't start at 10 and get out at 11. Okay? When you come here, you start at 5:30 and you have a meal, because when I read the Bible, that's what it says. They got together and they broke bread, then they prayed. Some had a song, some had a word. That was the order of worship. That was first century church. And if we want to model that, it's right there. It isn't some of the liturgical Methodist things that we took from the Catholics. Yeah, it's creating an imaginative way of reaching more people. That's our church is dying, you know? We got to accept it. We're hemorrhaging so badly that it's just, it hurts. It hurts. So we got to do something. And we got to get creative. Get creative. God gave you a mind with creativity. I'm writing, I just finished writing I won't go there because it's pretty heavy. So I know some of you, I might break your toes if I read that one to you. So, but I wrote a paper for the symposium that's coming up. So I wrote that paper, and it's about dreams and visions and how they affected my walk in my ministry. So I want to give some of my folks here who have been part of this ministry for some time. And we regularly have this many people on our Zoom all the time. And then some of them come in person like they're doing here. And our congregation here is finally getting a chance to grow because Mesa View and us have joined teams, and we're trying to build it here. We have never had that over the past 4 years of COVID. We haven't had a good chance to have an outreach or a launch service. When we did have a launch service, it's kind of when COVID was down. So we had a launch service, then COVID went back up again. So we didn't pan out for us. So we're at a point now where we can grow this congregation, and that's what we're leading to. We grow this congregation. We're not going to get leaps and bounds, but if we get 2 a month, we get 1 a month. If we get 4 a year, it's more than this city has ever had in Methodist services, ever. We had a lot of things happening on the reservation for years. We had 12, 13 churches out there at one time. You know how many we have now? About 1.5. That's all that's kind of left out there. Because the way we're bringing it to them doesn't meet their cultural ways. We're bringing this white Western way and saying transplanted into this Navajo community, and it didn't work. And it just proved itself not to work. But it took all this time, 20-some years, before they kind of faded away. But we are in an opportune time to make things happen new. And I believe that if this Good Medicine Way gets rolling and things God blesses, and we just stay faithful to what we're doing, we might be able to plant a Rio Rancho, another one in the northeast side of a satellite community, maybe even a satellite community down here in Sippy, where it's a Native American college. We could have a ministry there. Those things are all possible, but don't think it's going to happen in a year and a half. We don't even have a relationship with Sippy yet. You've got to build a relationship. We may take 5 years to get a good solid foundation there to have a service there. So, and the thing about it is we get run on a little bit of stipend that we get. And that's ending soon. Yeah. When that ends, we got to try to pick it up. We got to try to find a way to be sustainable. All of that's got to happen. And I'm really counting on the conferences and to really pull. pull for us and make that happen. So you help us, and we'll help you to help build the kingdom. So I want to open it up to some positive words from a few people. And if you guys raise your hand, we'll pick one. But I'd like to ask you guys first to share. And you don't have to.
Hey, Uncle looks right at me.
No, I'm looking right in between you. Yeah.
I'm just teasing.
But they're
on the spot.
I know they are. But I wanted to pick on one right away. I think she's ready to go. She's
Okay.
from New York.
Go for it.
Yeah. Cherie, are you available there?
You'll do good.
Cherie is part of my book group that we have, and she has been real positive in a way. She might be a step away. Let's see. Let's go with Heavenly, up there. Share us your 2-minute positive, encouraging.
My positive plug for Good Medicine Way is that I feel like it's the one place where I can come to a trauma-informed, safe space to connect with God. And I think there are not that many places that are conscious and intentional about trauma-informed spirituality and like having a community where you're safe to talk about that. And the people that are there are informed enough to not judge you for any dysregulation, you know? They're there to support you in your walk with God and in finding harmony. And I think it's helped me marry the logical and emotional side of my being, you know? It's helped me to find a little bit more balance and walk in harmony. So that's my plug for Good Medicine Way.
And you come from central Illinois, right?
I'm from Bloomington, the homelands of the Kickapoo and the Kaskia and the Way and many other people that we probably never learned their languages.
Well, thank you, Evan.
Thank you.
And then in the chat, Christina, who was on before talking about the women's group, she said she actually came across Good Medicine Way on YouTube and initially saw her stuff on YouTube, and then from there found out about us, and then has been connecting in. Oh,
There's
looks like-
Cherie popping in and out of there. Yeah, I called on you earlier. Would you
Yeah.
share with, and then we'll go with Karen after that.
Okay, yeah, sorry about that. I had a technical glitch. Um, so yeah, I'm from New York, and I actually am one of the ones that normally watches through the week. But I did want to come in and share my thoughts. I wrote them down because I knew I would be nervous. So it's taken me a while to gather my thoughts about what this ministry means to me. I could speak to you for hours about how deeply the kindness and wisdom of the people here have touched my heart, and how existing in this space with them has allowed the love of Creator to fill my spirit and bring me into a state of peace and stability. I could tell you about the turbulent journey of my life, about the deep fear and torment a life of trauma, tragedy, and spiritual suffering had left me with, how a journey of childhood trauma and foster care had left me with no home and no rest. I could tell you that I cried out to God in despair on my living room floor, wondering if He even loved me at all. I could tell you how I wrestled with confusion as I detoxed from a lifetime of criticism and punishment, not knowing what was even real or true. I could tell you about my breaking points, about my time begging God to show me what it means to be loved, what it means to be wanted, what it means to be accepted. I could tell you how God, in His mercy, heard my cry and led me back to my native roots, how He brought the right people into my life at the right time, both from this ministry and from my local community. I could tell you about the beauty I saw in them and how it melted my heart and made me feel safe. I could tell you about how the way of peace has calmed my inner storm and allowed healing oil to flow in. But when I think of what all of this means to me, I hardly know what to say. Because what is the value of your soul? What is the value of learning your identity in Christ, or the freedom to be yourself without apology? How do you tell somebody what a light means to you when you're in darkness? How do you express your gratitude for finding a map in the wilderness, or fresh bread when you're starving? What is the value of a friend when you're all alone? It is the power of God that breaks the heavy yoke and sets men free. And it is the love of Jesus, Creator sets free, that calls us out of darkness and into his light. But the extension of those gifts are often carried out by the hands of men. And Creator has chosen the hands of this ministry to carry those gifts to me. And for that, I am so grateful and blessed to be here. And I'm honored to support them as they have supported me. Aho.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. All right, Karen, up there in the corner.
I think I better let Dean go first because I feel a little bit emotional with having heard Cherie.
Me too. Okay, Dean.
And I'm not the emotional one. No. Good Medicine Way is really and literally an answer to prayer in my life. A number of years ago, I went to a Broken Walls concert up in Fairbanks, Alaska, and that was my first experience with Native church. And that was one of the most worshipful, meaningful experiences I had had in years as a Christian. I started praying, God, I want more of this. And so, and I live in Las Vegas, which is Southern Paiute territory, but there was no Native Christian fellowship anywhere that I could fellowship with. And then one day I saw Glenn Kaiser had this T-shirt on, said "Good Medicine Way" on a Facebook post, and I thought, what? So that was how I first found this through Facebook and more. And then for my work in ministry, I work with rescue missions across North America and Canada. And so I often come across people who are natives in the recovery program that are Christian programs, but they're very much from the white Western perspective. And so what a joy it's been for me to make connections, to tell them about the First Nations translation, and missions are ordering copies of that for the native members of their program, and they're having like Bible studies using it. And it's and then I tell them about the Broken Walls music, and they go, what? There's like Native American worship music I can listen to, and not just Chris Tomlin. It's like, so I feel like I'm just an ambassador sharing what has blessed me in a way that is helping to bless others in their journey of faith, get to know Creator as Christians and their traditions through the rescue missions. So.
Thank you, Dean. Yeah, Dean is working, like you said, with treatment programs, and I did my doctoral dissertation on an alcohol treatment program that I worked with in Farmington. And over the years, we took that program from a 17% success rate to a 75% success rate in 10 years. And my professors say, just tell us that story. So that's published, and Dean has been able to benefit from that as well. Thank you, Dean. Okay, Karen, are you better now?
Hopefully. I don't know. That was pretty special, Cherie. My name is Karen. I am Narragansett, Wampanoag, and Cherokee. All of my lines have chief lines. I am in the Potawatomi and Ojibwe lands where I live in Indiana. I am 13 generations from an Englishman who came on the Fortune II ship, and I also have Mayflower married in lines. But mostly I'm Native American. I got the English look, but I really don't have that much English DNA. I am basically Native American. I knew at 3 years of age I was Native American. My dad informed me of that. I didn't know at that time my mother was also. She was Inuit and Beothuk, but she didn't like to let on to it because she had had some bad experiences being Native American, so she didn't let people know that. But I knew at 3 what he meant. My mother didn't think I could understand it, but I did. I saw a vision of a man in dark skin with a breechcloth and a woman in a leather dress holding a stick with a bone at the end. And I knew from that moment on what I was. I was Native American, and that never left me. But when I got out of high school, I lost track of my Native American friends, and I had to walk into a white world. And I lived in that white world for 42 years, trying to pretend I was a white person. I wasn't white, I was Native American, and it did cause me a lot of sorrow. I finally, 7 years ago, turned around and said, that's enough of that. I'm going back to a spiritual church, even though it wasn't Native American, because there wasn't any in the area. At least it was more spiritual. And I was there for a couple years, but I still felt the void of not being Native American in a Native American culture. The way they would approach things, even to this day, and I won't tell you the denomination, is still from a white world's perspective. It came a point where I had a conversation with one of the ministry that I needed to put away my Native American perspectives and be biblical. And I challenged them, saying what their perspective was European, not scriptural. And they didn't agree with me. And I said, all right, if I'm wrong, I'll come back and apologize, but I'm going to get a hold of some Native American leadership, and I'm going to speak to them about the issue. So I did that. And one of the contacts that I was given through Nate's, which I was aware of Nate's, was Elder Casey. And through a conversation with him and a couple other elders, the conclusion was I was right. It was okay for me to be Native American in a white culture, even if they were white. But that didn't set well. So my heart yearned for something more. And Brother Casey brought me to Good Medicine Way, which is, I'll always remember the first night, everybody crying with me. I'm probably going to lose it. So from that, my burden went to a local Apache leadership who ran a rehab for street people, and talked to him and his wife to see if they could start a Native American church. So at least I could have something local on the side. And after a lot of prayer and talking, they gave me the commission to take up the call. And 6 months later now, we will be ready in just a few weeks to have our first service of a Native American church. And that is because of the blessing of some of our white allies that are on this ministry here. Ken Gingrich gave me contacts in the area to a wonderful Mennonite church who has opened their doors with open hearts. They were my 7th try. I had 6 ministry churches that turned me down or totally ignored my contact. So they were my 7th try, and they have been an absolute blessing. They've made up for a lot of pain of living in a white man's church. I really have appreciated them. And because of this ministry and the support and the encouragement and the Bible studies that we do on Tuesday night through Pagan Christianity and now Holy Smoke, it has given me a lot more strength to go forward and to move into the area my heart loves, and that's being Native. So I want to say I really value before God this ministry and all my relatives here. Thank you.
Very good. Karen is busy up there in northern Indiana doing a church plant, and just looking for support and encouragement and guidance in that way. of another denomination, because nothing's happening in our denomination here in the Southwest. So reaching out for somebody there who really wants to do something. Our next one up here is a friend that's become more and more and more of a friend here. It's Gene Stevenson.
Yeah, there's a book that I'm reading right now. It's called Healing Our Haunted Histories by Elaine Enns and Ched Myers. And they talk about the fact that for settlers, there's what they call an event horizon, a river Styx in our history that we are not encouraged to go beyond, to find out about. That when our ancestors came to Turtle Island as settlers, that the distinctives that they had in the old world no longer applied. That they were to be subsumed, to blend into this idea of being an American, being especially a white American. And so my own personal history involves being involved in higher education, getting my MDiv from an evangelical seminary, being ordained in what I like to refer to as a Methodist adjacent denomination, and all that entails. And especially in the theological realm, keeping things abstract, distilling ideas from scripture into these concepts that we play with and we talk about and are supposed to preach about, but that don't necessarily have a connection to place, a connection to our own family histories or even world history, except kind of incidentally. And so I, about 2 decades ago, started a journey of trying to find something that was more grounded, more concrete, more embodied, more contextual. And I thought, like my settler ancestors who came to Turtle Island, I thought that land would be uninhabited, only to find out that it was fully populated by especially indigenous people who claimed a connection to this land, to Turtle Island. I say all that because one of the things that Uncle Casey preaches from time to time, and other Native Christian elders preach, is this idea that everybody is indigenous from somewhere, small I indigenous. And for many Western settler folks, descendants, the struggles with the Christian faith parallel the struggles that Native Christians have, in that we have forgotten where we've come from. We've forgotten the lands that we were connected to. And when I met Uncle Casey, I was at the tail end of what turned out to be a very sour experience with another Christian organization that was ministering to Native Americans. And he invited me to Good Medicine Way. And what I found in Good Medicine Way, what I have found, is not just a contextual and embodied expression, but an expression of Christianity that breathes life into the people that participate. And I see that in Uncle Casey, especially. Whenever I am in the room, I've been privileged to be in the room a couple of times when he sang at the drum, and you can see that worship in spirit and truth that he talked about earlier. And it has encouraged me to keep pursuing that concrete and embodied and connected Christian expression, and to actually go into my own personal history and find out where that indigeneity, my own indigeneity, is connected to. And that's just really fit hand in glove with a lot of my own just research into my family. It's enriched my own personal walk, and it's been an utter blessing to be part of the community. And it is forming me, even as we speak, to be part of this community.
Jane and I have grown in our relationship. I'm on his doctoral committee, He's working toward his Doctor of Ministry degree. But someone else from, what do you say, a neighboring Methodist congregation, how'd you say that? Yeah.
Methodist
Methodist
adjacent.
adjacent.
Yeah, no one within my denomination, but someone outside, I'm still reaching out and helping here. And also here, our next one here, we'll take one more from the screen and then we'll open it up to in-house, Karen. She's with Salvation Army in Canada.
I just want to say this group, I haven't been here for a while because I have other commitments that I need to honor as well. But coming here, I've known Casey for quite a while because I was involved in NATES back in the early days of NATES. But as an ally, looking at how denominations can break down walls and look at what that means, I can say I've been doing that for about 30 years and walls are really slow to come down. It's very slow, and to push us out of what we traditionally have seen. I think during COVID time when I was ministering to a congregation and on Monday nights I could come here and be filled as well, so I could go out and walk with others. So this became a place where I could come and participate in a good way. But I think just the knowledge of what community, true community can do to change the lives of people is what we aim for, and what sometimes in a more Western stylized church we gather, but we don't really talk deeply. And so in this space, I think the circle is very powerful. The circle is, if we actually set our churches up in circles again, we might even just learn. So I guess the Western church and congregations that I lead can learn from the Indigenous thought process, the circle. And I think that's the power, is that those are very simple concepts that you don't need to be Indigenous to North America to implement. And so if we take the knowledge and we share it, we actually will see growth in the Western church as well. So I guess that would be the piece that the Indigenous people have much to teach us. So we walk in a good way. Where I am up here on the prairies on Cree, Saulteaux, Nakota, Dakota, Anishinaabe, and the homeland of the Métis, the Mischief people here in the northern part of Turtle Island, the cold part of Turtle Island. I just want to say we are much colder than you right now, though today was a bit of a warm day. We still have snow. But anyways, so to my brother Casey, and my sister Laura, we give thanks for all the teachings that you bring to us in the far north. Blessings to you all.
Right. Yep. Now, Laura and I are getting ready to take a trip to do a camp up in Canada, up towards Red Deer, just north of Calgary. We'll be doing a camp this coming fall where we share God within our cultural context. And we do sweat lodges, we do teachings, we teach about prayer from our context to the Jesus Christ. Laura, did you have something you wanted to say? Yeah. We've been texting back and forth, but I haven't been able to catch up. And you'll notice the way we do ministry here is that we're following chats on our computer at the same time we're doing ministry. Yeah, people are talking to us on here, and we try to bring up their topics. He's following on here as well. So it's an interactive thing that we're doing here. You got to really you got to flow with it and make it happen. So if you get into this ministry, yeah. So so thank you everyone on the virtual world here. Anyone here that'd like to share? And then we're going to go into a time of, we always do this. Part of the ministry is that after our speaker is done talking, we do a stillness time, and then we do a Q&R that lasts as long and sometimes longer than the message. Because I believe that Christ, he did half a dozen sermons, but he spent 3 years with, his disciples. And they didn't come to believe him when he called them. It took them 3 years, and then some of them even doubted, even after 3 years, whether he was Jesus Christ, the Messiah. Yeah, it took time. So a good medicine way is an entry point for belonging. And that belonging is the starting point towards a discipleship of coming to know Christ and then accepting him as Savior. So that's the part we play here with Indigenous ministries. You know, I spent 31 years getting myself to this point now, and I'm about ready to retire. So, but retirement says that's the kind of the busiest time of your life. So I'm ready for it, and as long as I can keep going. Laura.
The dog and the cat need to be fed. That's a code. That's a code.
That's the code.
We have some gifts that Deb Humiston has prepared, and I wanted to give an opportunity for her to share and then for her to distribute those gifts before we leave for the night. Because the dog and the cat need to be fed.
Yeah, and I know too, I says, when the congregation gets real agreeable, I know it's time to close. When I start seeing a lot of a lot of that going on in that back row back there. Yeah, Bishop there, he's done it a couple times there, I see. Just teasing.
Do this, but it's got really nothing to do with,
It has lots of things to do with your art.
years ago, when, probably right after we moved down here, just before, my mother received a little cross at church, and then every week during Lent, they had something to add to that. So this year, Hank and I talked about it, and we decided that we wanted to share that with Grace of You. And I learned really slowly, I'm sorry. It took me until just a few years ago to realize that not everybody in the world is like me. Just figured that out. So now that my eyes are open, that has been very good and very gracious, and I am so honored that we get to be a little piece of this. This is wonderful. But we made crosses. They're in a bag, and so I used verses for each of the items, and then again, I learned slowly. I went through the Indigenous New Testament and rewrote the verses with those verses. So I have one for you all. Leave if you would like.
Thank you.
A wonderful CLM, just saying.
It says for March 18th for those members of the cabinet. So before you leave, please, we'll put the box back there and please take them.
Do you guys want to share something?
Yeah.
All right. We'll do two in-house and then we'll open it up to if they have questions. They're not used to the question time. All right. We're going to open it up to in-house. A couple out here that want to share. But I also wanted to open it up to you. And I know this is new to you, but it is a regular part of what we do. And I was talking about, Jesus did sermons and he spent 3 years with the disciples. One thing that I never got in a Methodist sermon is to ask a question. It's either benediction and out the door, shake the pastor's hand on the way out. That's it. But I believe in my theology is that this group is growing because they get a chance to ask questions of the speaker before we're done. Yeah, and they're growing. Every time we get together and there's another speaker, they ask a question that helps their discipleship grow another step down that road. So that's what this is all about. But my discipleship took forever to grow because I listened to a sermon and that was it. It was always that. So I just want to share that. So that part of us is what's helping us grow. I want to give it to SJ and they'll be our last two to share.
Man, so where do I begin? Yeah, I'm just really thankful for Good Medicine Way because you're allowed to be yourself, your whole self, not just your physical body self and showing up, but actually being able to be emotional, a space that is safe for that, a space that you can express your gifts and be not just mental and physical embodied, but your whole self embodied. And I think that the worldwide body of Jesus followers can learn from that, because there is a huge need, not especially in Native communities, especially in indigenous communities around the world, and especially here in the Americas, but also to the West. Like Uncle Casey and others were saying, people are leaving in droves, and they're leaving in droves for a reason. They're leaving in droves because they're fed up with the same thing that doesn't really cater to their needs. And really, we have needs as human beings, in case we don't realize we have needs. And those needs need to be met. Not saying the society is going to meet them, because they'll meet them in unsatisfactory ways. But I think if we can be able to be fully embodied ourselves and then create spaces, like one person was talking about the circle, that is a huge component, because when we're all looking at each other's backs, we don't get in community with each other because we're looking at each other's backs. But when we're all looking at each other, that invites relationship, And I think Good Medicine Way, we see everybody every week, and we get to ask our questions, and we get to be ourselves, and I'm just grateful for it. It's shown me how to be myself in a new way, not only in the space of Good Medicine Way when we meet together here, but also in my everyday life, just allowing me to give myself permission to be myself, to be my whole self, and to not apologize for that. So I'm grateful for you all.
Thank you. Neshe, he's become a friend over the years, and when children make noise in our service, that is a blessing to the service. It isn't for ladies to look over there with a scowl and say, "Get that baby quiet." Yeah. She's online, and her baby will be right there in the service, and Eshe too. His kids will be looking in this, but they're there. That's life. That's life, and that when this happens here, that's life.
Right on cue.
Yeah, I didn't set this up. She came out there right on cue. Yeah, so we gotta encourage that. Yeah, I've watched too many these scowling faces. It just turn to. Oh, I don't know what to say.
I'm always like, shh.
All right, I'm Petadaka.
All right, well, Mike Tuguvin, Duayat, Munika Veni, Muni Bamanok, Haumi Dakyapi, Lam Paltuki, Yushkion, Napechi Uzapi, Lewatiki El Diamani, Pina Diaglape, Noah Akitaru. Hello, everyone. My name is Kelsey Lubeth Monroe, for those of you who don't know me. My Indian name is Upeti Daka, which means white star in the Pawnee language. I am an enrolled member of the Southern Ute Indian tribe. I am also of the Kikahaki band of the Pawnee Nation, Southern Cheyenne, Oglala, Shikangu, Lakota. So I come from the plains. So during the time that I joined Good Medicine Way, it was, I would say, like maybe around 2018, 2019, somewhere around that time. Brian's wife, Leah, had heard me speak at the Listen Project, which is part of Native InterVarsity. It's listen and serve in Navajo land, or something along them lines. But it was just like a project that my bro Sean, he might be on here or not, but my bro Sean and Cortland had put together. So Leah had asked me, or had mentioned me to Good Medicine Way, and they had asked me to speak. So after that moment, I was able I started getting passionate about joining Good Medicine Way every single week, as much as I could. So for those of you who do not know my story, I know many of them on here do know it. Our relatives here do know my story. But I actually served on a praise and worship team in Farmington, New Mexico, at a certain kind of non-denominational church. It's kind of new wave, kind of a little different. I joined them just like shortly after the pandemic started. So And I served there for about a year, maybe a little less. But during my time that I was there, I actually experienced a boarding school type of, I don't know, Bible beating. Just kidding. A spiritual beating from them. See, like how I am dressed tonight, I am wearing my traditional skirt and blouse. I tend to wear it a lot when I'm here. I tend to wear it because this is who I am. This is my expression of who I am as a Native person. Let me see, hold on. So yeah, I'm wearing my grandma's skirt, wearing purple for my grandpa because that was his color, right? But there was a time that I had heard from that church that that you either had to be Christian, as in following Christ, and you could not in any way practice your tradition. You couldn't speak your language. You couldn't do your war whoops or your lulus. You couldn't dress like this while you were on that platform. So I just rebelled, and I went up there and I wore my stuff. I gave out my as my highest form of praise. Yes. But during that time, I met with the pastor. Well, actually, it was the pastor's wife and the pastor's son. And they had basically told me that I couldn't do that I had to be one way or the other. There was no in between, even though I had already grown up that way, because we are products of boarding school. We're products of the boarding school era, so we lived this way. We had to integrate our traditional ways with Christian values, because that was how our ancestors, the ones who came before us, had to learn. It was forced on us, and we had to try to hold on to whatever we could. And so, with Good Medicine Way, I'm actually brave enough to be standing here in my outfit and not feel like I'm going to be demonized. And people won't tell me that I'm a horrible person, that they've had a horrible feeling since they first met me, even though they don't know anything about me. And so, here in Good Medicine Way, I'm blessed to be able to express myself in this way, the way that my grandma, my mom, my great-grandma, my great-great-grandma, all the way back to when the boarding schools first started, the way that they wanted to live, the way that they wanted their children to carry it on. And so through Good Medicine Way and through the vision of Uncle Casey and Laura and all the wonderful people who make this happen, I'm able to be here, able to speak my language to you all, able to come on here and dance and sing and be able to just be who I am, And if it wasn't for Good Medicine Way, if I wasn't able to join virtually because I live far away, and invite other people in, I wouldn't be able to be here today as I am. So, yeah. Thank you. Aho. Doya. Hinamiapi.
Ho.
All right. We'll take a moment and we'll have a stillness time. And then, like I said, we'll open it up for Q&R. And this is your time to ask questions about virtual, about Good Medicine Way, about what you're seeing. I'm a resident here. You can call me anytime and work with us. So, Brian? And Brian usually leads this time. He can, with a little bit of both of us tonight. But this is a chance for you that I'm not going to say a benediction, and then when you shake my hand on the way out the door, this is the time to grow, to know more in your walk. Even though you're a long-time Christian, you're still working towards perfection and knowing Christ more. So, Brian?
Yeah, so just any questions or comments that anybody has? Just checking the chat real quick. Yeah, you got a lot of stuff in the chat. Yeah, so anybody virtually, if you have any other comments or thoughts, we can have that. And any questions or comments from in-house, just, shout them out. The mics will pick you up, so you don't have to necessarily come up here or anything.
Yeah. With all our guests, step forward and share. It'll help us grow. You're helping us by answering a question too. Yeah.
I guess it's kind of a question and also a comment. I've lived in Albuquerque for about 40 years. By the way, my name is Twyla. And I'm Yurok Indian, but I never got to experience anything about my genealogy at all my whole life. And it was mostly because my father died when I was very, very an infant. And so my mother moved back to New Mexico, and in New Mexico, I don't think Native Americans in eastern New Mexico, where I grew up in Roswell and Artesia, they were non-existent in my world. So when you visited our church here, and I also am not Methodist by my life. I've only been a Methodist 4 years. After my husband passed away, I was just like a fish going with the tide anywhere and everywhere. But I knew that something in my spirit needed more. And we had served God our whole marriage. We were married 50 years. And my mother raised me to be a Christian in the white world, now I'm realizing. But I never was able to grasp it. I love God with my whole being. And I felt his touch on my life. But once I came to Medicine Way, the very first night I came, I think my native part began to stir up. And I always felt alone, different, everywhere we lived, in Oklahoma, in Texas, and here. I always felt like I couldn't find my place to belong. I was very active in my churches, and I know I was loved, but I just couldn't find that place to belong. And through my husband's death, I found Mesa View Church, and I began to come here, and I joined right away. And I've never joined a church in my whole life. I've always just been part of the church. And I've grown probably more in these last 4 years in my spiritual walk than in all the 74 years before. And then when I found Good Medicine Way, I just feel a peace and a calm that comes over me. And Satan tries to come in and discourage me. But then I'm reminded of who I am. Kind of like you said, you can be yourself with no judgment. So that's what I am receiving because of your ministry.
Thank you. Virtual, if you have a question, put your hand up in the corner. There we go. Nima, I want to put you on the spot. If you show us your new gift that you have.
Mid-bite.
I waited till you got something in your mouth, just like you do with the restaurants, you know?
Chicken.
Oh, show them.
I'm so happy I met Casey and Laura, and that I get to express as a Native woman. Some of you know that my great-grandmother and my grandmother came off the reservation in Tennessee, so I'm enrolled in the Eastern Band of the Cherokee Nation, and I'm very proud and grateful that I get to speak that here with Casey and Flora and with all of the people in Good Medicine Way. I mean, Casey, I thought I was retiring too. I mean, here we are. I'm just grateful to be a part of this ministry and to walk beside you and Laura and to learn from all of the wisdom of these young people that are Jesus followers and that are we are so lucky as pastors in the United Methodist Church to be a part of this and to be here in Albuquerque. So I'm grateful and I thank you and I love you and these are really good cookies.
Laura.
And Nikki over there. Nikki, raise your hand.
Laura, would you talk about the gift you gave her? There's something going on behind the scenes here that we didn't see. I want to bring it out in the open.
I have not had a ribbon skirt in 30 years.
Yeah, we can see you on the
Now I
camera.
have my new ribbon skirt.
You can come in.
Oh, nice.
So, as I said earlier, ribbon skirt is a traditional garment. It's intertribal. Women can wear it. And it's an expression of your own creativity. So, for instance, the family and I, we spent 2 years, I have 5 kids. So we spent 2 years raising money to get to Hawaii. And so when we got to Hawaii, one of the first places I wanted to go is to look at the fabric. So this is my fabric from Honolulu. And then, so this is one of my expressions of happiness over there. And then Pastor Nima asked if I would make her a ribbon skirt. So usually when an order comes in, I would ask them what colors might be significant to them. And she said she wanted the medicine wheel colors. And there's different colors for many different tribes, but then again, there's intertribal colors that can go across all tribes. In the United States, there's 573 federally recognized tribes. Here in New Mexico, we have 26. So, and she says her favorite color is purple. So, in the medicine wheel, you start from the east. The east is white, and there's yellow, where the sun comes up. It's yellow. Then it moves to the south, and the south is red. It's also like the four directions of life. You have infancy, childhood, then you move into adolescence, and they have that rage, red, testing, and then you move to the west, and that's adulthood, and it represents the black. Then as you age, you go to the north, which is white. And they also say that then, especially with some of the older adults, that they may circle around back to infancy, where you have to feed them, take care of them, sometimes carry them in a wheelchair. And so she wanted the medicine wheel colors, which I added. And then an added feature, when I make something, I really think about who's going to wear that garment, who's going to wear the ribbon skirt. And so she shared her story with me one time about her being Cherokee. And so the Cherokee language was all syllabary, like symbols. And so this is like a G, a W, and a Y that was created by Sequoia, who made he established the whole alphabet for Cherokee. And the G, the W, and Y actually means Jalagi, Cherokee. And so I created her little symbol there for her. And I gifted her skirt this afternoon when we arrived.
I think Joe's got something.
Joe, you got the final word.
Oh man, the pressure's on now, eh? No, I just wanted to say some things to my friends, but I'll introduce myself more so. And no pressure. Thanks, Karen. So I've been doing ministry as an Indigenous person for 28 years, kind of all over the world. And how I met Good Medicine Way was I was in Canada and I was lonely and I was watching YouTube. There's this YouTube channel where this guy tows cars out of the desert. And it was 2020. My family and I had been there for about 10 years, and we were doing ministry up there with native people, Coast Salish, and I was just like so lonely for the desert. I was watching this YouTube channel, and so I had met Casey previously to that, but I was like, oh, like I want to, my family's from Albuquerque, Socorro, Magdalena, Pie Town, kind of out that way. And so kind of all south of that towards Silverton. And so I just that's what brought me to Good Medicine Way. I'm just really appreciative of you guys and our friendships. And I honestly, truthfully, I would not be here if I wouldn't be a part of Good Medicine Way if I didn't believe in you. I would be so gone, and I wouldn't think twice about it. So I'll tell it to my friends. I'll say it to the people who are also in the room. But just that's a little bit more who I am, I guess, and then what I think of this place. So anyway.
It's about the time.
Thank you. All right. I think we can go into our final song.
Round dance.
Round dance song. And
oh yeah. Yep.
We could do something here. With a smaller group we do.
Yeah, I think we can get a little round dance. It doesn't have to be everybody, but anybody who wants to can certainly do a little round dance over there, I would think.
If not, we'll just cut through here.
There you go.
Yeah, I'll give you a chance. And then we'll have a closing prayer from our brother in Boston, California. Yeah, you join us. Let's make a circle around this back set of chairs.
So we started this, we started tonight with the prayer. We're going to end with the prayer. We started with the song somewhere in the middle, and we're going to come get our hearts back together for the evening to get ready to move on. Yeah, that was the way to do it.
With the beat of the drum.
Hey everyone.
Yes.
Can you all see me and hear me okay?
Go ahead.
All right. Oh my goodness, what a wonderful night. This was very profound. I'm just in awe of what everybody had to share, especially about what Good Medicine Way means to everybody. And thank you, Pops, for being obedient, to the Creator as you went on to your journey of contextual ministry. And thank you, Mom, for all that you are doing for the countless people. I just really believe that Creator is blessing so many people through the ministry that both you all are doing. And you're blessing more people than you think. I really believe that in my heart, mind, and spirit. And I'm just very, very thankful for how Good Medicine Way has been able to bless me, being a man of the African descent of the Mandingo tribe of West Africa and the Bantu peoples of West Africa, who was brought to America via the transatlantic slave trade and intermarried with the native peoples in Mississippi, and how that a lot of that history had been wiped out because of the one drop rule. So that's my legacy. Well, excuse me, that's my inheritance, if you will. And Good Medicine Way has blessed me to dive deep into that and to share the stories of many Black Indians who have similar stories. So may Creator sets free. Oh, Jesus. Continue to bless so many others, so many people from all over the world, not just here in Albuquerque, but all over the world. May your word come forth and may it reach those in the way that you know how to reach us, and that we can better worship and come to learn you better in the way that you have made us. The way that you have made us, rather than being so strict, too strict, to follow the indoctrinated ways of Western Christianity, Western oppression. Thank you, O Creator, for this fellowship is a life changer. I'm not the only one whose life has been changed through this ministry. So praise you for changing the lives to bring us closer to you. You, O Jesus, have enabled us by being obedient even unto death, unto the cross, so that we could have intimacy with our Heavenly Father. And we can experience that relationship with you even better now through our contextual ways, through this contextual ministry that teaches us and encourages us of how to do just that. Thank you, Creator Sets Free, for the stories, the true stories that we have heard tonight. All the true stories of triumph, all the true stories of sadness, all the true stories of trauma. Yet it is written in your word that everything works out for the better for those who love you. And we experience that through this fellowship. You are working things out for the better. A new wave is coming, is continually growing, and it has been prophesied. Oh, Creator, we thank you. And may we let this fellowship, let the words of our beloved Casey Church and Lord Church, Umpetadaka and Brian, the minister of music who loves to show off and show out. Thank you for them. Thank you for how you have bringing us closer to you. And may we use this to come closer together, not separated apart, because we have been separated apart for generations due to the genocide, due to the trauma, due to the people who misrepresented your word, who misrepresented your culture. Bring us closer together and continue to bring us closer together so that the next generations will come closer together, so that the American church will change for your glory. And may that be a great pillar, a great foundation to encouraging people across the world of how to worship you contextually, going against the practice, the tradition of the ways who have separated everyone away from their cultural ways, separating them from the ways that you have made them. And this is a wonderful event, and it will continue to grow, it will continue to thrive. And this will be a joyous moment that we will all continue to celebrate together. Let's make you glad. Let's make the devil mad by embracing who we are, what we are, how we are, that you have called us to be. May your Holy Spirit, great Spirit, dwell within us and go before us and lead us into our contextual ways of honoring you. Push us and encourage us. Stay above us to cover us. Stay beneath us to lift us. Stay in us to fill us with understanding and wisdom of how to better connect with you, how to better worship and serve you in the way that you made us. Thank you for this good medicine way. Thank you for your love, which is great medicine. Great medicine from the great Savior, the great Creator, the great Spirit. Oh, Jesus. Oh, Heavenly Father. Oh, Holy Spirit, thank you. Bless this night. Bless us throughout this week. Thank you for keeping us safe. Thank you for keeping me safe from the men who wanted to fight me tonight. 2 men who wanted to attack me, but you have put a hedge around me. Thank you for keeping us all healthy and protected us from harm's way. And we trust in you to continue to do so. In Creator Sets Free name, Jesus. Aho, may it be so.
Amen. All right. Thank you all. Thank you all. Signing it. Love you all. I'm virtual. Love you all here. It's amazing. Glad I got to meet you all. I just have many questions, and you can put all your hate mail in my email. It's all there. If you want to, this is our order of worship.
Yes, thank you for joining us tonight, everybody. Thank you for all your contributions and everything that you had to share. We greatly appreciate that, and we look forward to seeing you next week. So thank you again. Thank you. Many blessings to all of you.
Thanks for all.
What's up, guys?
Thanks for every day, guys. All right. Food up there
Blessings.
yet? If you need a snack for tonight, go ahead.
Put chairs away.
Have a snack.
So what happened?